Welcome to the Markkula Center for Applied Ethics at Santa Clara University. Today I'm joined by Joan Cassman, who is the head of the Public Agency Section and Government Group at Hanson Bridgett, and JoAnne Speers, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Local Government. They have been with us today at the Public Sector Roundtable, where they've been talking about the question, it may be legal, but is it ethical? Welcome.
Thank you.
Joan and JoAnne, both of you are very involved in educating public officials. How do you help them understand the distinction between ethics principles and ethics laws?
Well, what we do at the Institute for Local Government is we try to explain that the law is a floor. It's a minimum standard. It's the standard you don't want your conduct to fall below. And then beyond that is the space for ethical decision-making, values-based decision-making. And it's the individual official's decision how high they want to set their sights above the minimum requirements of the law. And it should be pointed out that some of those minimum requirements are really quite stringent. But it is always a two-part analysis.
Joan?
Well, I would echo what JoAnne has said, that the two-part analysis is so important to have a complete assessment of what should be done in any particular situation. You know, oftentimes when a public official comes and asks me, as the legal advisor, whether a conflict exists, I will look at the law and provide some advice. There are times when I will say, I think that this would survive a legal analysis, but there may be other issues you need to consider, and those would be the space that JoAnne has discussed, the space of values, how does it look, how would it be perceived by others.
Well, that definitely leads us to our second question. Agency counsel typically advises on the legal aspects of a decision. What role, if any, does counsel have in advising on the ethical aspects of those issues?
So the role of the city attorney or the legal advisor certainly fundamentally is to advise on the black letter law and regulations, which JoAnne has referred to as the floor. Sometimes, in certain situations, they can be pretty rigorous, and oftentimes they're very complex. The law at times is often addressing a bad fact situation. So something happens which causes great consternation and is viewed as unethical and not good government, and the legislature comes in and oftentimes with a sledgehammer puts a rule in. In these cases, you are sometimes dealing with a harsh result, or somehow the law is overkill for the actual situation at hand, and the result may not be desirable, but it is what it is. Then there are other situations in which, as I mentioned before, a fact situation may technically comply with the law, but it does raise these other issues. And just being asked to comment and start a conversation with the official about the fact situation before us does present an opportunity to also raise the fact that there may be considerations beyond the floor, the law, which should be considered. Now, some agencies look at their city attorney and ask the city attorney to address just the law. Please give us advice on what we can and can't do. So there are times when city attorneys do not feel invited to reach into that ethical space into the second phase of the decision making. So much depends upon the relationship of the city attorney and the agency with whom he or she works, and the particular official that may be coming to him or her for advice. And you just hope that you can be invited to enter into a conversation at the second phase, but that may not always be the case.
And that's an opportunity for the client to play a role. I mean, communication is a two-way street, and the law is not always clear. That's why we have attorneys. The line between lawful and unlawful conduct is not always clear. One of the things that a client can do, or a local official, the agency is the client, but a local official can do in conversations with agency counsel is to make it clear that wherever that line is, dividing lawful from unlawful behavior, that person wants to set their sights way far away from that line. And that's the opportunity not only to make sure you're not making a misstep with the law, but also to make sure you're also setting your sights higher than the minimum requirements of the law.
That's right. And that's the creation of a culture that is very sensitive to and respectful of doing the right thing and building just a sense of ethics to consider them at all times and at all levels.
I want to thank Joan Cassman and JoAnne Speers for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about the work of the Ethics Center, please go to our website at www.scu.edu/ethics.